Hello, Gretchen. Welcome to the live orientation final examination preparation session. So I'm going to take you through this practice paper. So the first thing which you need to bear in mind is that it will be marked out of 100 marks. Then the duration is 2 hours. So that is the first thing. Then in terms of the instructions, section A will always remain compulsory. The same applies to section B. Then in section C, you are required to answer any 2 questions. So 2 questions constitute 40 marks. So when you get to section C, you are reminded to answer in full sentences. So you are not required to write one-word answers, but you must answer in full sentences. Then in addition to that, you are reminded to number the answers accordingly to the same order which you find in the question paper. Then in question 1.1, various options are provided as possible answers to the following questions. Choose the correct answer and write only the letter next to the question number on the answer sheet provided. So 1.1.1, cardiovascular fitness means you have. So when you're talking about cardiovascular fitness, it means you have, yes, a large lung capacity. Then in addition to that, that can also result in lower blood pressure. Then you can exercise for longer periods without running out of breath. So all of the above answers are actually correct. So in this case, we are choosing the letter D. Then 1.2, if you like to educate and inform people and you get on well with people, your personality type is. So people with a social personality type, they enjoy educating people, informing people, and they also get on well with other people without major challenges. So the social type is the correct answer there. So the reason why we have rejected the other answers, the investigative type, it is that type which likes to research about things. Then the conventional type, that is the ordinary type. Then the realistic type needs or likes analyzing things as they are without putting in imagination into it. Then if we go to 1.1.3, one of the following is a study method. So one of the following is a study method. When you're studying, which of the following are study methods? So the first one which I will take is B, note taking. Then after note taking, you would also so when you are studying, you need actually to practice note taking so that you internalize whatever you will be trying to study. Then 1.1.4, the government uses tax contributions, the money which is contributed by individuals, businesses, and companies. So how does the government use this particular money? So the first thing which I need you to bear in mind is that the government also has its own workers. So yes, it's true, it compensates employees using this money. Then in addition to that, they run the country and pay for infrastructure. So considering these 2 options, we would have D as our correct answer. Why are we saying D? Simply because tax money is used for both compensation of government employees and also for running the country and paying for infrastructure. So that's why we are saying both answers are correct. So D will be our correct letter for that particular question. Moving on to 1.1.5, it is important to obtain a National Senior Certificate, NCS, which is also known as a matric certificate, because it gives you the opportunity to. So in other words, this question is asking about the advantages of getting a matric certificate. So a matric certificate, it actually develops through further studies and to find employment. You can actually use it to do further studies. You can do further studies with a TVET college. You can also do further studies with a university. So it allows you to conduct further studies or to pursue further studies. At the same time, it can also open your gate to employment. So that is the importance of a matric certificate. Now moving on to 1.2, match the descriptions in column B with the items in column A. write only the correct letter next to each number, e.g. 1.2.6J. So the first thing which we are going to look at, we are going to look at the term occupation. So the term occupation can be closely linked to the letter C. Occupation, it refers to the work you do. It usually requires special education, training, or skills. So the letter C, that will be your occupation. It is the work you do. It requires special education, training, and skills. Then moving on to interests. Interests are closely aligned to the letter F. When you are talking about interests, we are talking about something that attracts your attention and makes you want to learn more about. Something that attracts your attention and you would want to learn more about. So F will be the correct letter for this particular question. So that is interest for you there. So your interest refers to something that attracts your attention and makes you want to learn more about. So the letter F will be our correct letter there. Then moving on to the next one, 1.2.3, life domains. So life domains, basically these are the three main areas in life. What dominates your life? So these are the three main areas of life: being, becoming, and community and belonging. So these three main domains, they include the family. They also include spirituality. They also include work relationships and also your health. So G will be the correct letter for 1.2.3. 1.2.4, competencies. When you're speaking about competencies, we are talking about the abilities and the skills to do something well. Those are considered to be the competence. When you're competent in something, you have the ability to do something perfectly well without experiencing much difficulty. Then 1.2.5, recreation. So when you're talking about recreation, we are talking about activities which are done for leisure and enjoyment. So the correct letter there would be A, activities done for leisure and also done for the sake of enjoyment. These are considered to be recreation. So just a quick rundown of our correct answers. Occupation, that's our C. That is the work you do. It usually requires special education, training, or skills. Interest, that's F, something that attracts your attention and makes you want to learn more about it. Then the life domains refer to the three main areas of life: being, becoming, and community belonging. Competencies, these are the abilities and skills to do something well. And lastly, recreation refers to the activities done for leisure and for enjoyment. Now, 1.3, provide a suitable word or phrase for each of the following sentences. Write only the word or term next to the question numbers on your answer sheet. So, the measure of your body composition and the calculation of your body weight in comparison to your height. So this is known, when we abbreviate it, it's called BMI. It is known as BMI, which in full is known as body mass index. So this is known in full as the body mass index. Then if you want to abbreviate it, it's known as BMI. So that is the measure of your body composition, the calculation of your body weight in comparison to your height. Then 1.3.2, the biological qualities which differentiate men and women from each other. So the biological qualities which differentiate men and women from each other, they are referred to as the sex. That is referred to as sex. These are the biological qualities that differentiate men and women from each other. That is known as sex. Now, 1.3.3, a condition caused by the loss of too much fluid in the body. So when your body loses too much fluid, perhaps due to diarrhea or due to exercises, that is known as dehydration. That is referred to as dehydration. That is referred to as dehydration. When your body loses too much water, that is known as dehydration. Dehydration. Let me write the proper spelling just right below there. It is known as dehydration. Dehydration, that is a condition when your body loses too much fluid due to diarrhea or due to exercise. That is dehydration. Now, moving on to the next question, which is 1.3.4. Unfairly treating a person or a group of people differently from other people or groups. So that is known as discrimination. The correct term used for that is known as discrimination. So discrimination comes in different forms. We might talk about racial discrimination. We might talk about tribal discrimination. Then we also have cultural discrimination. And we also have things like gender discrimination or sexual discrimination. Then moving on to 1.3.5, this takes place when players or administrators decide before time who will win or lose the game. So this in sport is known as match fixing. That is when players and administrators decide an outcome of a match before it has been played. That is known in sports as match fixing. So it is a bad practice. It actually results in unfair results during sporting activities. Now, 1.4, study the picture below and answer the questions that follow. Warning, beware of fly-by-night illegal or bogus colleges. DHET toll number. So name the statutory body that is responsible for establishing and maintaining quality within the higher education training and implement the NQF. So we do have the Council of Higher Education. It's known as the Council of Higher Education. In abbreviation, it's known as CHE. It is abbreviated as CHE. Then the next question, write the full name of NQF. The full name of NQF. So NQF refers to the National Qualifications Framework. NQF refers to the National Qualifications Framework. So N for a national, Q for qualifications, then F for framework. So it is referred to as the National Qualifications Framework. Then provide the NQF level that the National Senior Certificate represents. So the National Senior Certificate represents NQF level 4. It represents level 4. So that is the metric certificate. It is on NQF level 4. Then outline two functions of the NQF. So the NQF, it is a system. NQF, it is a system that records the credits It is a system that records the credits of learning. It records then credits that it records the credits of learning assigned to each level of learning. Assigned to each level of learning. We can say to each learning level. That is the first responsibility. It is a system that records. It records the credits of learning assigned to each level, to each learning level. For example, when you get a matric certificate, that means it's NQF 4. Then you get another post matric certificate, that's NQF 5, a diploma, NQF 6. Then immediately after the diploma, there is also the bachelor's, that will be your NQF 7. So it is a system that records the credits of learning assigned to each learning level. In addition to that, it standardizes skills and knowledge. It standardizes the skills and knowledge through learned in institutions throughout the country. So it standardizes the skills and knowledge which are learned throughout the country. No matter what university or what college you attend, as long as it is a recognized college by the Council of Higher Education, the NQF would be there to standardize the skills and knowledge learned in these institutions throughout the country. It makes it even, it makes the playing field even. Now let's move on to Section B. So bear in mind, like what I said before, Section B, it is a compulsory section. Section B, it is a compulsory section, so that should be put in mind as well. Now, it reads, answer all the questions in this question paper on the folio provided. Write the answer in full sentences. So you are required to write full sentences when you are answering this particular question. All right, now read the case study below and answer the questions that follow. So the case study, it is about challenging homophobic bullying in schools. Tanisha is 13 years old, very boyish, and identifies as a lesbian. Okay, Tanisha reported that one teacher at her school said that if she gave birth to a person with 2 sexual organs, she would kill it. Tanisha said she tried to chase me from the class because she didn't want to teach. She didn't want to teach Tanisha. So I try to ignore all this because I have to finish my school and support my family. There is no one at school I can talk to. So Tanisha's mom came to school to complain, but I was careful not to mention Tanisha's sexual orientation for fear that things will get worse for her child. So the first question now, it requires the definition of gender. So the definition of gender should not be confused with sex. There's a difference between gender and sex. When you talk about sex, we are talking about the biological differences which exist between men and women. But gender represents something which is completely different. So gender refers to being male or female. Gender refers to being male or female with reference to cultural differences. As opposed to biological differences. So there's a difference between gender and sex. So gender refers to being male or female with reference to cultural differences as opposed to biological differences. So, in addition to that, it also refers to the roles which assigned different people in society. The male roles and the female roles which are assigned to different members of the population group. Then 2.2 provides three biological differences between male and female. So the first difference is that men have testicles, whilst women do not have. Secondly, women menstruate, whilst men do not. Then the third difference is that women have breasts. We can actually add that they do have lactating breasts which are capable of producing milk. They have lactating breasts, whilst men do not have. So the three differences are that men have testicles whilst women do not have. Women menstruate whilst men do not. Women have lactating breasts whilst men do not. So all these are the differences between male and female members of the population group. Now the next question is 2.3. All right, 2.3 reads, identify three of Tanisha's basic human rights which are being violated. So there are three basic human rights which are being violated. So the first one is right to fair treatment. All right, so the first one is right to fair treatment. That is the first one. Then the right to freedom of association. Okay, right to freedom of association. In addition to that, we also have the right to freedom of expression. Freedom of expression. So we do have right to fair treatment, freedom of association, freedom of expression. Then now we move on to outline the four negative effects of homophobic bullying. So for this one, it's a much more detailed answer. So I'll take it to the white board. So we are looking at the effects of homophobic bullying, the negative effects. The negative effects of homophobic bullying. So, number one, bullying leads to loss of self-esteem. Leads to loss of self-esteem. It can result in loss of self-esteem. Then, in addition to that, bullying can also result in poor attendance. So bullying may result in poor attendance of classes. Then poor attendance because of bullying leads to poor results. Leads to poor results. Then in addition to that, bullying can lead to self-harm. Bullying leads to self-harm. So all these are the negative effects of homophobic bullying. So the first one, negative, bullying leads to loss of self-esteem. Bullying may result in poor attendance. Then poor attendance leads to poor results as well. Then bullying leads to self-harm, where people end up harming themselves or attempting suicide or having suicidal thoughts. So all those are negative consequences of bullying. Now, the strategies which teachers can use, 2.5, strategies which teachers can use, recommended strategies for educators, to create safe environments for learners such as Tanisha, to create for learners. All right, for learners. So what can be done by educators to create a safe environment for learners? All right, then educators are supposed to, they should always be aware. So the first thing, they need to be aware. There should be awareness of gender stereotypes. Educators should be aware of gender stereotypes and biases. So they must be educated first about gender stereotypes and gender biases. Then in addition to that, educators are encouraged to recognize diverse families. Recognize diverse families. Then apart from recognizing diverse family or embracing diversity, educators are also required to display safe space symbols. Display safe place symbols which communicate the message that they accept everyone in spite or despite of their gender, or despite of their sexual orientation. So display safe symbols in schools and in classroom. And in classrooms. So they should display safe symbols in classrooms and also in classes. Then in addition to that, educators are also encouraged to use pronouns which the students prefer. So as educators, we are discouraged from imposing pronouns when we are addressing learners. We should use pronouns which the students prefer instead of imposing our own pronouns. All right. So use the pronouns which the students prefers, not just imposing any pronoun there. So this brings us to the end of question 2. Now moving on to the next question, which is question 3. Question 3. So right here we have answered the 4 negative effects of homophobic bullying, then 3 ways in which the educator and the school as a whole can create a safe environment for learners, such as Tanisha. All right, now moving on to question 3. Study the cartoon below and answer the questions that follow. Preparing for the exam. I've made a list of everything I need to do. It feels so good to cross off each item. You haven't done any of this. I know it's perfect. So there's a cartoon. There's a little bit of humor there. Differentiate between study skills and study methods. So for this one, I'll write it right on the top. So study skills. Study skills. It is the ability study skills, it means the ability to concentrate, the ability to concentrate. It is the ability to concentrate. The ability to concentrate and to perceive that is the ability to concentrate and to perceive information correctly. But, now we are moving on to question 3. Study the cartoon below and answer the questions that follow. So the first on the cartoon, we have the words, I have made a list of everything I need to do. It feels so good to cross off each item. You haven't done any of those. I know it's perfect. So the first question says differentiate between study skills and study methods. So when you're talking about study skills, when basically we are talking about study skills refer to them broader foundational. They refer to the broader foundational abilities that support learning. These are the broader foundational abilities that support learning across different. They support learning across different subjects. So this refers to the broader foundational abilities that support learning across different subjects. Now, on the other hand, study methods are specific techniques These are the specific techniques that are used These are specific techniques that are used to master particular course or content. So that is the difference between the two. So study skills, these are the broader foundational abilities that support learning. These are the skills which you need to support what are learning. Whilst the study methods, use them on your own, these are the methods which are specific techniques that are used to master particular course content. So that is the distinction, or that is the difference between study skills and study methods. Then you can also say that study skills, this is the ability to concentrate or perceive correctly and accurately information. Then the study methods are the strategies that a learner uses whilst studying. So each learner has different study skills and also study methods. Now, moving on to the next question, 3.2. 3.2 reads, identify 4 time wasters that learners are guilty of when studying. So the first time waster, which learners are guilty of, is conversations. So I'll write conversations. Or you can call it chatter. When people are talking whilst the teacher is teaching, conversations during classes, or unnecessary chatter during classes, impairs, affects learning abilities. Abilities, for example, when you are continuously talking whilst the teacher is also talking, it affects your learning abilities. Then in addition to that, we can also say that procrastination. Procrastination results in tasks not being completed on time. Not being completed on time. When people continuously shift tasks and say that I'll do it tomorrow, it actually affects your delivery of tasks. So procrastination, when you keep on shifting tasks to the next day or to the next period, it affects your study patterns. Then in addition to that, we also have problems such as a noise, creation of noise environments. May affect concentration, focus, and concentration. So noise environments may affect focus on concentration as well. A noisy environment can distract you. Then in addition to that, we can also talk about social media. Then we also have television, etc. So all these are time wasters that children or that students should be mindful of. Social media, television, noisy environment, conversations, or unnecessary chatter during class, procrastination also affects learners during their studies. Then the next question requires us to mention, so that will be 3.3, mention 3 study methods that will enable learners to effectively prepare for examination. So the first study method is the use of exam question papers. Using a past examination papers to practice for the actual examination is effective because learners
because learners familiarize themselves with content and questioning techniques. With content and questioning techniques. So the first is the use of past examination papers. So when you use past examination papers, you are familiarizing yourself with the content. What does the examination actually assess? And you also familiarize yourself with what? With the questioning techniques. How do they ask about particular concepts? So you are encouraged to use past examination papers. So that is the first study method. In addition to that, simply because they need 3, you can also say that learners can also make use of, I'll write this in a different color. Learners can also make use of strategies such as taking notes, not taking whilst while studying, enables active learning. So not taking whilst studying enables active learning. What do you mean by that? As you take notes while studying, you will be imprinting the information in your brain. As you are taking notes, you also be imprinting the information in your brain. So that is active learning, or that is active studying. It enables active learning. Then in addition to that, you can also say that learners are also drawing diagrams, tables, mind maps, also make examination preparation easier. When learners use tables, diagrams, and mind maps, they also make examination preparation easier, as it becomes easier to memorize concepts, content. It becomes easier for them to memorize the content. Then in addition to that, also learners are also encouraged to make use of taking breaks. They are encouraged to take breaks when studying, and also ensure that all the resources are easily accessible. So that is 3.3. So these are the methods which a learner can use. Mention and explain 3 study methods that would ensure students effectively prepare for the examination. So practicing past examination paper, note taking, drawing of diagrams, these are effective methods. Now let's go to 3.4. Advise students on the best way to solve problems while studying by referring to 6 practical text steps to take. So advise students on the best way to solve problems. So when you're solving problems, you are advised to take a note of the following practical steps. So that is 3.4. 3.4. Okay, that is advice to learners about problem solving. All right, so the first step or step one. First step, step one, learners are advised to start by brainstorming. They are advised to start by brainstorming. So you start by brainstorming. So brainstorming allows you to generate ideas. It allows you to generate various ideas. Then after brainstorming, we move on to step number 2. Step number 2, understand the problem. Understand the problem at hand. Must understand the problem which is at hand. Then step number 4, or step number 3 rather, you must apply critical thinking. Apply critical thinking. That is when you think deeply about the problem at hand. Then step 4, that is the development of a solution. And of a solution to the problems. Then a bonus step, that would be step 5. Step 5, you should develop a solution. Under developing a solution, that's where you need creative thinking. When you develop a solution, you need creative thinking. Then step 5, that is when you do trial and error. The solution which you have brainstormed and which you have developed, you need to try them, then you see how effectively they can work. So that is that is the 5 steps or the 4 steps which you require when you are solving a problem. Step 1, brainstorming. Step 2, understand the problem at hand. Step 3, apply critical thinking. Then step 4, development of a solution to the problem, creative thinking. Then finally, trial and error. Now, moving on to the next question. The next question reads, section C, choose any 2. Answer any 2 questions from this section. Your response must be in the form of an essay, not a list, not in point format. So I'll try by all means to write full sentences so that it can also guide you. So the next question reads, study the extract below and answer the questions that follow. Socio-economic challenges during lockdown. The lockdown has unfortunately taken a significant toll on countless of impoverished communities across South Africa, especially those who live from hand to mouth. Many individuals employed on a no work, no pay basis are not receiving any form of income during this period. Many communities across the country still do not have access to a basic supply of water, housing, and adequate food supplies. The lack of income and food security has unfortunately and reportedly led to incidents of looting of grocery stores, food delivery trucks, and growing social unrest. Write in paragraphs in which you examine how the following social issues can have a harmful effect on the society that are exposed to it. Use the following as a guideline. Define the term environmental justice. So the first term which we are going to define is the term environmental justice. So when we are talking about environmental justice, we are talking about a concept. Environmental justice is a concept whereby there is fair distribution. Environmental justice is a concept whereby there is fair distribution of the benefits from the environment. There is a fair distribution of the benefits from the environment. So what do we mean by this? The environment is capable of producing so many resources which we can use, minerals, water, and many other resources which we can use. So when there is environmental justice, there is fair distribution of the benefits of the environment. Then in addition to the benefits, also the burden of the environment is equally shared. So it also involves the sharing of the benefits, both the benefits and the burdens. The benefits and the burdens of the environment. So usually it aims to address communities which were usually marginalized. For example, if you look at communities which were mining communities, it also tries to ensure that even the communities where the mines are found, they also benefit from what? From the monetary proceeds which come from the mines. So that is environmental justice, a concept whereby there is a fair distribution of the benefits and the burden of the environment. This is shared equally amongst community members. Then the next question reads, discuss the harmful effects of the following social issues. The harmful effects of crime. All right, so the first thing which we want to talk about is crime. So the harmful effects of crime. Crime results in physical and emotional damage. Crime results in physical and emotional damage of the victims. Okay, people can sustain injuries. From crime. People can sustain injuries from crime and can also lose property through crime. They can also lose property through crime, which affects their sense of security. Security. So that is the first thing. Crime results in physical and emotional damage of the victims. People can sustain injuries because of crime. Then after they sustain their injuries, they can actually lose property through crime, which affects their sense of security. Then in addition to that, we need to discuss poverty. Poverty harms people. Poverty harms people's social and mental well-being. All right, people living in poverty lack basic needs needs, which affects their physical, and mental health. This affects their physical and mental health. They might lose lose their self-esteem, and suffer from constant depression. So they might lose their self-esteem and end up also suffering from constant depression. So that is the danger of poverty. Then in addition to that, we are also going to look at lack of housing. So lack of housing, I'll take it to the whiteboard, lack of housing, unemployment, and lack of basic services. So lack of housing affects people in the sense that it leaves them vulnerable to the elements of weather. So when it's hot, they are exposed to the harsh elements of the weather. When it is raining, they are exposed to the harsh elements of the weather. When it's cold, they are also exposed to the harsh coldness. So lack of housing affects people in the sense that it leaves them vulnerable to the elements of weather. In addition to that, it deprives people, lack of housing deprives people of their sense of dignity. When someone is homeless, the respect is lost. That respect which you give to a human being is actually somehow lost. So it deprives people of their sense of dignity. And it leaves a lot of emotional scars. That is a lack of housing. It leaves a lot of emotional scars. Then in addition to that, we also need to look at the next bullet. All right, so the lack of basic unemployment. All right, unemployment is also going to be discussed there. All right, unemployment also results in failure to provide to meet basic needs. Unemployment results in lack of income, which affects the ability to provide for yourself and your family. Then in addition to that, we also need to talk about housing, lack of not lack of housing, but instead the lack of basic services, water and health. All right, lack of basic services services and health affect the quality of life. They affect the quality of life. It affects the quality. It affects the quality of life. So it results in outbreak of diseases, It results in outbreaks of diseases and shortened life expectancy. So it results in outbreaks of diseases and it also shortens the life expectancy. Then moving on to the next one. The next question. All right, provide 4 practical solutions that you can implement in your community on any of these social issues to make the society live in a better and safe place. All right, so some of the practical methods which can be used to address this is, I'll write them on the whiteboard. So practical solutions. Practical solutions. So to address the issue of crime, we might start community policing forums. Forums can be established in communities. To stop crime. So communities will come together, then they decide to come to form the neighborhood watch and also the community policing forums, whereby they patrol areas and try to reduce crime. Then in addition to that, whistleblowing. Informing the police of illegal whistleblowing on illegal activities can also result in the end of crime on illegal activities. Report on illegal activities. Then in terms of poverty and unemployment, so for this one, starting projects and small businesses, small ventures can eradicate or can eliminate poverty. So people are encouraged to become self-employed. They start projects or they start small ventures in order to fight poverty and unemployment. Then in addition to that, we also have the lack of basic services such as health, okay, or participation in community cleanup programs which are voluntary to create safe and healthy environments. All right, participation in community cleanup programs so that communities can have safe and clean environments. They should participate in community cleaning programs. So basically, these are some of the solutions which can be suggested to address these problems. Now, moving on to question 5, Question 5 reads, study the picture below and answer the questions that follow. In South Africa, there's a diversity of religions that help to promote understanding and tolerance. So we have various religions there. The first one, represented by the Christian cross, is Christianity. Then the next one, represented by the whale, that is your Buddhism. Then we also have Islam here. Then we also have Taoism. Then we also have Hinduism here. All right, so in South Africa, there are a diversity of religions that help promote understanding and tolerance. Write in paragraphs on the major religions in South Africa. So the major religions in South Africa, I will discuss them below. Use the following as a guideline. But before we talk about the major religions, I'm going to use that one as a guideline. So the first thing is the definition of the term tolerance. So tolerance refers to all right, tolerance refers to the acceptance. Tolerance is the acceptance and respect for different religious beliefs and practices, even though you do not agree with them. So tolerance is the acceptance and the respect of different religious beliefs and practices, even though you do not agree with them. So it is actually a commitment. Tolerance, it is a commitment. Tolerance can also be called a commitment to peaceful coexistence. That is a situation whereby you accept other religions despite you not being part of that particular religion. So that is tolerance. You accept other people for whom they are, which does not necessarily mean that you agree with them, but you are trying to foster or to cultivate what we call peaceful coexistence. That is existing peacefully with the person who is next to you. So now the next question says, discuss the 5 largely practiced religions in South Africa. All right. So I'll start with Christianity. So I would start by saying that Christianity is a missionary religion. Introduced to South Africa by missionaries. Missionaries, we are talking about people who preach religious teachings from place to place. So it is a missionary religion introduced to South Africa by missionaries. During the time of the voyages of discovery. So it was brought by those people who came from Europe. When they settled into South Africa, they established Christianity. So Christianity is centered on the Bible, or biblical teachings, and is monotheistic, means that they believe in one God. It is monotheistic, meaning the believers believe in one God. They believe in one God. Then the next religion, so the Christian symbol is the cross, like the one which is indicated them. Then the next religion is Islam. All right. It is also a missionary religion. Brought to South Africa. Africa from the Middle East. That is from countries such as Saudi Arabia. That is where it originated from. Then it also came from the Middle East and from Asia. So when we look at Islam, it is based on the teachings of the Quran. And the believers worship in a mosque. So there we have two religions. I'll move on to the next religion. All right, so we have Christianity, Islam. Now let's take the others to the whiteboard. All right, the other religions which we also have other religions. We also have Judaism. It is also practiced by a fair amount of people. The religion originated in the Middle East. So the religion is monotheistic. And originated in the Middle East. It started in the Middle East. It is monotheistic. It originated in the Middle East. Then this religion, or the believers, worship in a synagogue. So the believers, they worship in a synagogue. Then religion number 4. Religion number 4 is called by faith. It is a relatively new religion. It is much more newer than the others. Then it originated in Iraq. Then other religions, Hinduism. It originated in India. And it was brought by Indian settlers. So in Hinduism, they believe in several gods. They believe in several gods. Yes, they believe in several gods. Then in addition to that, they worship in temples. Then in addition to that, we also have the next religion, which is the next religion would be ATR. ATR is known as African Traditional Religion. African Traditional Religion is diverse. It is different. There are so many branches of ATR. All right. It is diverse. ATR originated from Africa. It originated from Africa, and it teaches the philosophy of Ubuntu. It teaches the philosophy of Ubuntu. What is the meaning of that? That people should come together and help one another. Then ATR, the religion called ATR, gives importance. It gives importance to ancestors. It gives importance to ancestors and spirit mediums. It emphasizes the importance of ancestors and spirit mediums. So that is ATR. Then let's move on to the next part of the bullets. The next part of the bullets, if you go back to the question paper, it reads, suggest 4 advantages of living in a multi-religious society. So when you live in a society with different religions, there are so many benefits which you can reap from that. So the advantages of living in a multi-religious society, I'll write that on the white space. So under the subheading advantages, advantages. But when you write, you don't need to write subheadings, but advantages of living in a multi-religious society. So these advantages, so in your case, don't use subheadings. I'm only using subheadings so that you can see the different points which we are listing. So the first advantage is that you get to enjoyment of cultural diversity. You get to enjoy the benefits of cultural diversity, leading to richness of diet, which is the food. It leads to the richness of the diet, of the art, and of the entertainment. You get to enjoy other, the diet eaten by people from other religions. You also get to enjoy the art from other religions. Then in addition to that, there is enhanced creativity. It enhances creativity and open-mindedness. It enhances creativity and open-mindedness. Then, in addition to that, it broadens an individual's worldview. It opens out your mind. It broadens an individual's worldview. Then finally, you can also say that it allows people, it fosters multi-religious multi-religious societies, promote empathy, whereby you feel or you put yourself in the shoes of another person. They promote empathy. After promoting empathy, they also promote tolerance. They promote empathy and tolerance. So these are the advantages of living in a multi-religious societies. These are the benefits which you can get from living in such a society. Now, moving on to question 6. Question 6, it reads, study the extract below and answer the questions that follow. Overcoming gender bias through sport. The International Olympic Committee says sport enhances women's rights and girls' health, self-esteem, empowerment, and leadership opportunities as it addresses discrimination and facilitates social inclusion. The positive results of sport for promoting gender equality and women's empowerment are, however, hindered by the gender-based discrimination in all areas and at all levels of sport and physical activity. Despite South Africa's progressive constitutional stance on gender equality, the impact is yet to be fully manifested in this sporting arena. Sports, being historically a male-dominated sphere, has left female athletes to encounter various forms of discrimination, including inequality, sexual harassment, violence, and victimization. So define what is meant by bias in sport. So when you talk about bias in sport refers to unfair treatment of individuals. It refers to unfair treatment of individuals on terms based on their gender. This is based on their gender, or it can be based on their race or nationality. So it refers to unfair treatment of individuals on terms based on their gender, race, or inequality. All right. So that is the definition of bias. Now, discuss 5 ways in which women are treated unequal in the sporting field. So there are so many ways in which women are treated unfairly. Some women's sports receives less sponsorship from the government and business community, the corporate world. So if you look at how women's leagues are sponsored, they receive less funding when it comes to sponsoring. You find that a men's league can be sponsored to the tune of 10 million rands. But when it comes to women's leagues, they can be sponsored even less than 1 million rands. So that is an example of unequal treatment of men and women in the sporting field. So women's sports receives less sponsorship from government and business community. Then also in terms of media coverage, there is when there is less media coverage of women's sports, e.g., women's soccer, netball, etc. receive less media coverage. If you look at the number of times you would watch women's soccer on national television, you see that the time allocation is not enough. So they receive less media coverage. Even the reporting in newspapers is less. So even the live matches of netball, you find that they are not as equal as the live matches from soccer. So that is an example of unequal treatment in sport. In addition to that, there are limited professional leagues. There are limited professional leagues for women. For women's sports. So that's another example of unequal treatment, limited professional leagues for women's sports. If you look at soccer leagues for women, they are very, very limited. In addition to that, unequal payment or unequal rewarding, unequal rewards or payment of women in sport. Find that the prize money is not the same. The males are given much more prize money as compared to the female. So that is another way in which women are treated unequally. So those are the 4 ways. Actually, the question requires 5. So I'm going to add another one. So there's also lack of support and recognition by fans. It's also an example of unfair. Lack of support and recognition by supporters or fans. That's also an example of unequal treatment in sport. So those are the 5 ways. Lack of support and recognition, unequal rewards or payment in women's sport. Women's sports receive less sponsorship from the government and the business community. Then there is also less media coverage of women's sports, e.g. women's soccer or netball receives less media coverage. Then finally, limited professional leagues. There are limited professional leagues for women's sports. Now, we are moving on to the third bullet. Suggest 4 ways on how society and the media can take up their responsibilities and make positive changes to gender bias in sport. So I'm going to suggest quite a number of solutions. So they would need a blank page. Let me take you straight to the whiteboard. All right. Solutions. These are the solutions. All right. Solutions to address gender bias in sport. Include. So I'm going to discuss the 5 solutions to addressing gender bias in sport. So there must be more female representation in sports. In sports, there must be more female representation in sports. More female teams, female athletes should be recruited in various sporting disciplines. So more female athletes should be recruited in various sporting disciplines. So it shouldn't only be about netball, but they should be recruited in various sporting disciplines such as rugby, soccer, cricket, and many other sporting disciplines. To address the imbalance. All right, then the next point, media houses, that is television and radio companies should cover should provide coverage. They should provide coverage of female sports. So sports where females or female sports person participate should receive much more coverage so that they can be more awareness and recognition of women's sports. So we need more of women's sports on television. We need more of women's sports on radio. And the third point is that there must be implementation of stricter anti-harassment policies in order to protect female participants. So there should be anti-harassment policies to promote female participants. Then in addition to that, we also look forward to there should be more community support. There should be more community support from fans. By attending female or women's games. They must attend women's games. For example, when Vanyana is playing, we encourage people to go and attend and also support them. Then the government and business community can provide more funding for the development of women's sports. Then also building of infrastructure can help, and creating awareness. So all these solutions can result in the removal or in positive changes to gender bias in sport. So it can result in positive changes to gender bias in sport. So that is question number 6. Then just to briefly take you to question number 3, which had also something to do with study skills. I just want to add something there, which can also be another suitable response, an alternative to the response which you already have. This is just an addition. So I want to draw your attention to the strategies of what advise students on the best way to solve strategies. We have done that. Then past examination All right. We can also advise learners to survey. Then they can also question. Then read, recite, and review. This is another strategy which you can also use. You can survey, then you question, then you read, you recite, and you review. So this brings us to the end of this discussion for this particular paper. Thank you for being our audience. Hope to see you in the next session and wish you the best of luck in your examinations.